Hi everyone, this is Katie Groves, and I want to apologize if there's a lot of triggering background noise. When I showed up to this park, there was practically no one here, and it was extremely quiet. And as soon as I started recording a previous take of this video, a train went by, and then almost immediately a loud siren started going by, and around the same time someone turned on a leaf blower, and a dog started barking, and shortly before I'd started recording, some kids showed up to the park right after I'd gotten here and are now loudly playing basketball. So I found a location in the park that is probably the quietest, and hopefully this video will still be accessible to people. I'm also sorry for moving the camera around a lot. It's really cold, as you can see from the redness in my face, and my hands are shaking. So, I'd also like to apologize if my jacket is triggering in any way, if the hood is triggering. I'm dressed like this because this is the warmest jacket that I have, and I forgot my hat. There was a mix-up with my dissociative parts in planning what to wear. So, here I am trying to make this video. Hopefully this will work out. My phone's actually really low on battery, so it might get cut short, but I'm going to post what I can. So in this video, I have planned to talk about physical hygiene and self-care as part of my Healthy Coping Tools series, where I talk about things I'm doing to cope with trauma right now. As many of you know, I had a recent trauma in which a part of my dissociative system split, cave on, and that was very challenging. And one of the first things we did was we dedicated ourselves to taking care of ourselves physically, and specifically focusing on showering, brushing our teeth, washing our face, doing simple things to make ourselves feel more human. So there's various aspects of all this that I want to talk about. One of the first things I want to say is that we struggle with depression. We don't like to call it depression, though. We like to call it stored grief. That just works for us a lot better. I think we got the term from a 12-step program for adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families, but I don't recall if that was the exact term. I know that they talk about stored trauma and stored anger in that group. And anyways, we just find it really helpful to think of it that way rather than thinking of it as a mental illness. For us, depression is just a result of not having processed all of the grief from our traumas. And while we do a lot to navigate that, one of the things we do is focus on physical self-care, even though it's very hard. It's kind of a vicious cycle. Depression leads to a lack of physical self-care oftentimes, which then increases depression. And so for us, we try to break the cycle wherever we can. The issue for us is compounded by the fact that we have a lot of trauma triggers around things like showering and teeth brushing, really anything that involves touching things to our physical body is triggering, and anything that involves water is triggering. Pretty much everything for us is on some level triggering, but these things are especially so. And so what we do is we do a combination of dissociative coping and mindful coping, which is really how we always deal with things. To some degree, we use dissociation to cope, and to some degree, we try to get really present and work through the triggers and the trauma so that we can actually do things with presence. One of the things that has been a stumbling block for us around physical self-care lately has been the whole issue of ongoing targeting and knowing that the water is contaminated and that our hygiene products may very well be contaminated. We just today accepted that one of our soap products that was actually specifically for sensitive skin was irritating our skin suddenly out of nowhere. And we're not saying that for sure somebody from the network contaminated the soap in one of their break-ins to our apartment, but they've tampered with our stuff, it seems, before, and I don't put anything like that past them. So just knowing that that's a possibility, that our hygiene products are tampered with, and knowing that the water isn't safe, that can make doing these things extra challenging, extra triggering. But what we do when we shower specifically is we focus on, like I said, a combination of dissociative coping and mindfulness. And we try to be aware of the fact that we're triggered, but at the same time hold awareness for how good the water feels. I think I might have talked about this in my last healthy coping video. I know I talked about it in a recent video nonetheless. I talked about holding dual awareness of trauma and a spiritual connection. That if I can not try to block out the trauma too much, but at the same time as holding space for the trauma, hold space for things that are not traumatic, I find that I have a much better time dealing with life. And that to me just really goes to the heart of what mindfulness is for me. Brushing my teeth. Sorry if the bug that just flittered across the camera triggered anyone. Brushing my teeth is something that's also very challenging for me. A few months ago, I suddenly started getting really triggered around it in a way that I hadn't been feeling before. And it's been a very slow, ongoing process to deprogram the alters that came up around that. I'm really not sure exactly what happened still. Some parts of my system are, but something happened, and whether it was accessing or just something shifting in our process, I'm not sure. I honestly think it was just a shift in our process. But whatever happened, we found it suddenly very difficult to brush our teeth. And sorry for the sound of the car horn and the barking dog, it sounds like. I'm not sure exactly what that just was, but it triggered me. Breathing, collecting myself. It is really cold. My hands are starting to feel rather pained. So I'm going to wrap this up in a minute. But I just want to say, I don't remember what I was trying to say about brushing my teeth. I guess just that it's been an ongoing process of working with the alters. I myself, the part who's speaking right now, I haven't really had as much to do with it as I've just been holding space and watching the progress, kind of being in the body. While it happens, I'm more of a host part than someone who does the hardcore deprogramming work. But I've been aware that this has been going on for some time, all this work. And we are able to at least brush our teeth once or twice a day, most days. And we recently were able to reacquire some mouthwash after we ran out. Something we have to do, this is something I wanted to mention in this video, something we have to do is be really mindful of what products we use. Even though we know that some of our stuff may be contaminated, we still have a degree of control over what we actually buy. And while we are very, very limited in our financial... Sorry, I just glitched for some reason. I got really overwhelmed by the background noise. While we're very limited financially, we do have a degree of choice over the products we use. And so we try to use things that are natural and that are healing. We try to go for stuff, if we can, that has essential oils in it, things that are calming. And when we shower, we try to turn the water up really hot, not to where it scalds us, but to where it's just soothing and helps us relax. And we just try to focus on whatever aspects of all this we can control. There's a lot that's out of our control right now because of the targeting and because of the ongoing effects of all of our trauma, but we do have some things that we do have power over, and we just put everything we have into maintaining the power we have, as that is truly all that we can do. We do also pray to a higher power, and we try not to pray too much and ask for power over things that we don't presently have power over, because we don't really feel like that's how that all works. But we do ask God to open up space in our lives and make it more possible for us to heal and to give us more opportunities and resources if possible. And that's something that I think works for us in our life and does really help us move forward. Of course, I want to say that showering and brushing my teeth are not the only hygiene things I do. I really don't want to get too detailed into my physical self-care because it's very personal, but I don't do anything that complex. We try to really balance things that we feel are masculine and things that we feel are feminine when it comes to physical self-care. That is something else I wanted to say about all this. It can be very challenging for us with our gender dysphoria, for example, to cope with the degree to which some authors in our system want to shave hair on our body. And we found a compromise that errs on the side of femininity, but doesn't go for the complete, totally hyper-feminine look that some parts of us want. And that seems to be working for now. Part of the reason we are leaning towards femininity is not because our whole system does, but because for a few years as a teenager, we presented extremely masculinely. And a lot of more feminine authors in our system were extremely upset and dysphoric by that, because of that. And so it's really important for us to try to make them feel compensated for. When we turned 18, we switched hosts from a more masculine author in Damien's subsystem to a more feminine author in Katie's subsystem, Karen. And we tried very hard, it's more masculine parts of the system, to allow Karen and other feminine parts to have some autonomy over the body again. But at the same time, they've had to work on being respectful to us and our needs. And like I said, we've really put a lot into working out compromises. Another reason that we go towards femininity a bit is simply because we have a straight male partner. And while he's actually very specifically attracted to androgynous girls and is really respectful of us being gender non-binary, he has a definite preference for more feminine appearances, and so we try to appease that. I do want to make it clear that he has never tried to be controlling with how we present, which is one of the reasons that we love him so much, but we do try to be attractive to him as much as we can. And honestly, for us, it seems like with our relationship, it's a lot more important that we just take care of ourselves, whatever that looks like, rather than we be super feminine. So, that all being said, I'm not sure what else to say. I guess I'll just say that my hygiene routine basically just consists of showering, brushing my teeth, using mouthwash. If I can floss, I do, but that's really hard for me. That's very, very triggering for multiple reasons. Wearing deodorant. We recently lost our deodorant, actually. It's either buried somewhere in our apartment or someone took it or something. I don't know what happened, but we had this really nice lavender stuff, and now we're actually using our boyfriend's deodorant instead. But hopefully we'll get some money soon to be able to buy new deodorant so that we can wear something that's a little bit more healing, something that has healing herbs in it. Because like I said, we really go towards that. And let's see, we wash our face, not as much as we'd like, but touching water to our face is one of our biggest triggers around all this. And so we just do the best we can. One thing that's helped is we have this facial scrub. It's a pomegranate raspberry scrub. And we were using it more than we are now in recent times. But we noticed that for some reason, all of a sudden, it went from smelling rather soothing to not smelling like it used to smell and smelling kind of, I don't know what the word is. I want to say acidic, but that doesn't really sound right. It basically stopped seeming so healing. It seemed like it had chemically changed. I don't know if it got tampered with or what happened, but we still use it somewhat, and it's still helpful, but we're also looking at buying something new as well there. So, yeah, and then, of course, shaving and grooming in that way. We do that, too, like I talked about. And we also focus on trying to have clean clothes, which can be challenging because of money, but we've put a lot of effort into being able to do laundry despite triggers we have around that, and learning how to just balance. Sorry, the background noise is activating. This has gone on longer than I meant for it to. I have no idea if this will be helpful for anyone, but people have asked us a lot how we cope with stuff, and I don't know, for anybody who finds this helpful, if you would let me know in the comments what you find helpful about it, that would be absolutely awesome, because if I post this, I'm probably going to be really self-conscious that I just rambled on about my basic hygiene practices without offering anything too constructive. Okay, thanks.